All right, welcome back to another explainer. Today, we're grabbing a magnifying glass and decoding a classic age-old romantic trope. You know the one, the mysterious stranger brooding in the dimly lit corner of basically every romantic comedy ever made. I mean, we've all seen it in movies, we've read it in novels, and honestly, we've probably all felt that irresistible pull in our own lives at some point. But we aren't just looking at the romance of it today. We're actually going to break down the psychological science of mystery and dive into something super fascinating called the pleasure paradox. And that brings us to a really fundamental question about human nature. Seriously, why is mystery so attractive? I want you to really think about this for a second. Have you ever noticed that sometimes the more we know about someone, the less we actually want them? It's kind of wild, right? It feels entirely counterintuitive. We spend all this time and emotional energy trying to figure someone out, like we're cracking a code. But the moment we feel like we finally do, the spark just kind of fizzles out. So why does the simple act of not knowing act as such a powerful, almost intoxicating aphrodisiac?
Well, think about what it actually means to know absolutely everything about a person. We naturally associate that state with certainty and predictability, and hey, that feels incredibly safe. It's like a locked vault where nothing can surprise you and nothing can hurt you. But here's the kicker. Attraction, desire, and that elusive spark, they actually live in the unknown. So we've got this stark contrast between what we think we want in our relationships, total security, zero surprises, perfect predictability, and what actually keeps us biologically and emotionally engaged with another human being over the long haul.
Okay, let's actually look under the hood at the psychological forces driving all of this. We're going to explore the core scientific concepts that prove why a little bit of the unknown isn't just some manipulative dating game or, playing hard to get. It's actually biologically essential for maintaining a deep, long-term connection. Our brains are literally hardwired to respond to mystery, and once you understand how that works, it can completely change how you approach your relationships.
This brings us to a major psychological concept known as affective adaptation. In a nutshell, this is the phenomenon where our emotional reaction to an event or a person fades once we fully understand them. Think about those exhilarating early days of dating. Every single text is thrilling, right? Every date feels like an adventure. But fast forward a few years, you know exactly what they're going to order at a restaurant, you know exactly how they're going to chew their food. In relationships, we strive to make our partners entirely predictable. But affective adaptation tells us that once we achieve that total predictability, our emotional response just flattens right out. In plain terms, we basically just get bored.
And that leads us directly into what researchers call the pleasure paradox. This is a fascinating and honestly kind of tragic trap we fall into as humans. The paradox is that our natural quest for security and understanding actively destroys our ability to be moved by our partner. Just let that sink in for a moment. By working so incredibly hard to understand someone, to decode their every thought and make their behavior perfectly predictable, we accidentally strip away the exact mystery that drew us to them in the very first place. So, how do we counter that paradox? Well, enter the Uncertainty Intensification Hypothesis. Yes, I know it's a massive psychological term, but the premise is absolutely crucial. This is the scientific idea that moderate uncertainty heightens our attention and amplifies emotional engagement. Put simply, a healthy dose of uncertainty acts as a powerful catalyst for desire. It literally forces your brain to wake up and pay attention to the person standing right in front of you. Think of a partner planning a surprise date where you have absolutely no idea what the destination is. That little spike of, wait, what's going to happen next? That is exactly what we're talking about here.
Think of it like a spectrum. When uncertainty is way too low, well, it's totally predictable. You know every step of the dance, and your brain basically falls asleep. The pleasure level just bottoms out. On the flip side, when uncertainty is way too high, that's just anxiety-inducing chaos. You don't know if they're going to call, you don't know where you stand, and honestly, that's not fun either. But right there in the middle, that moderate level of uncertainty, that is where pleasure spikes. Research shows this moderate level is the absolute sweet spot. It's the exact point that keeps the brain perfectly engaged, deeply curious, and firing on all cylinders.
To really ground these abstract psychological concepts, think about the pacing of a brilliant suspense thriller. Just imagine sitting in a dark theater, watching an absolute masterclass in tension. It's all about the way the director feeds you just enough information to keep you hooked, but intentionally holds something crucial back. They give you pieces of the puzzle, but never the whole picture, right? It literally forces you to lean physically closer to the screen, desperate to know more.
Now think about a perfectly explained ending to that movie. Every loose tie is wrapped up neatly with a little bow, the killer is caught, the motive is crystal clear, the hero wins. You feel satisfied in the moment, sure, but you quickly move on. You've probably completely forgotten about the movie by the time you've walked out to your car. Now contrast that with an ambiguous ending, the one that doesn't answer every single question. What happens? It haunts you. You debate it with your friends for weeks. It becomes unforgettable. In relationships, an ambiguous, slightly mysterious partner stays highly accessible in our minds long after they've left the room. Because there are still gaps to fill, you literally can't stop thinking about them.
Okay, so how do we take this from a sterile psychology lab and actually apply it to our real lives? How do we use this on that nerve-wracking first date, or even going into year 10 of a marriage? It really comes down to intentionally maintaining that spark by resisting the incredibly powerful, comforting urge to completely demystify your partner. It's about actively fighting your own instinct to make them 100% predictable.
A highly renowned relationship expert, Esther Perel, hit the nail on the head when she famously noted, "Novelty breeds testosterone." It's a remarkably provocative statement, but it perfectly proves the point. Mystery and novelty aren't just nice, romantic ideals for poets and screenwriters. They have a tangible, measurable, biological impact on us. Novelty creates a physiological response that literally fuels desire and physical attraction.
Building directly on that, there is a really beautiful reminder here. Your partner still has untold dreams to share. Even if you've been with someone for a decade, you do not know everything about them. They are constantly evolving, growing, and changing, just like you are. They still have hidden depths, new thoughts, and wonderful surprises to offer, but only if you're actively open to looking for them, instead of just assuming you've already read the entire book cover to cover.
So how do we actually put this into practice? Let's run through 3 quick, actionable steps. First, if you're early in a relationship, don't reveal your entire life story on the very first date. Give the other person a chance to wonder about you. Leave a little blank space. Second, always keep a little something for later. Let your story, your quirks, and your passions unfold naturally over time rather than dropping a full data dump over coffee. And third, whether you've been together for 2 weeks or 20 years, actively embrace those untold dreams. Ask questions you don't already know the answer to, and give your partner the space to genuinely surprise you.
Which brings us to our final thought for today's explainer. What mystery will you leave unsolved today? By fighting the urge to know absolutely everything right this second, you might just keep the spark alive forever. Consider how you can apply this science of desire to deepen your own connections, leaning just a little bit into the unknown. Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating topic with me, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.